He dropped the porcelain cup. It shattered across the marble floor, dark liquid splashing over his polished shoes as his hand trembled uncontrollably. Victor Hale stared at his reflection in the spreading stain, breath shallow, vision blurring again. The dizziness hit him in waves now. It had been happening for months, weakness in his legs, trembling fingers, a fog that crept into his thoughts without warning. Stress, the doctors had said. Too much pressure. You need rest, Mr. Hale. But rest had not stopped the shaking. That morning in the park, Victor sat alone on a wrought iron bench, trying to steady his breathing. The fountain ahead of him blurred at the edges. He pressed his fingers to his temples. "You're not blind," a small voice said beside him. "Your wife is poisoning your food." Victor turned sharply. A thin girl stood there, no older than 12. Her clothes were faded, her shoes worn thin at the toes. Yet her eyes were steady. Too steady. "What did you say?" His voice came out rough. "She's poisoning you," the girl repeated calmly. Slowly. "Every day." Victor almost laughed, but the sound died in his throat. "That's an ugly accusation." "It's the truth. You don't even know me." "I know where you live," she said. "I clean tables at the cafe behind your house. I see your kitchen window." His chest tightened. "Careful, child." "I'm careful," she replied. "You should be." Victor rose to his feet, anger masking the sudden chill creeping through him. "Why will my wife poison me?" The girl's gaze didn't waver. "Because she's afraid." "Afraid of what?" "That you'll leave." The words struck harder than they should have. Victor felt his pulse quicken. "This is ridiculous." "I saw her," the girl continued softly. "White powder." From a small silver packet. "She poured it into your soup. Stirred it twice. Then she wiped the spoon and smiled when she carried it to you." Victor's stomach twisted violently. "That's a lie." "I watched through the window," she insisted. "You were at the dining table. You looked tired. She kissed your head before you ate." Memories flashed through his mind. His wife Elena standing behind him, her fingers resting on his shoulders. "Eat, Victor," she would say gently. "You need your strength." He had felt exhausted after nearly every dinner. "Who put you up to this?" Victor demanded. "No one." Her jaw tightened. "My mother died like this." The breeze seemed to stop. "She trusted someone," the girl whispered. "He said it was medicine. Said it would help her sleep. It made her weaker, thinner. She couldn't walk without him. And when she tried to leave," the girl swallowed. "She never woke up." Victor felt his legs weaken. "You're projecting your tragedy onto my life," he said, though doubt had begun clawing at his certainty. "I'm saving yours." Footsteps approached from behind. "Well, this is unexpected." Victor turned. Elena stood there, elegant as always, a soft smile fixed on her lips. But her eyes flickered between him and the girl. "Victor," she said sweetly, "why are you speaking to this child?" "She says something interesting," Victor replied slowly. The girl didn't move. Elena's gaze hardened. "You shouldn't harass my husband." "I'm not harassing him," the girl said evenly. "I'm telling him the truth." "What truth?" Elena's voice sharpened. "That you're poisoning him." Silence crashed over them. Elena laughed. Too quickly. "This is absurd." Victor studied her face. A bead of sweat traced down her temple despite the cool air. "She claims she saw you add something to my food," Victor said. Elena's smile tightened. "Victor, please." "She's a street child. They say anything for money." "I didn't ask for money," the girl shot back. Elena ignored her. "You're not feeling well lately. You're tired. That's all. You've been overworking yourself." Victor's vision blurred again. "The symptoms always start after dinner." "Because that's when you finally sit still," Elena insisted. "Swear," Victor said quietly. "Swear what?" "Swear on our son that you have never harmed me." Elena froze. The girl watched, breathing shallow but steady. "Victor, this is insane." "Swear." Elena's lips parted. No sound came out. "Look at me," Victor demanded. "Look at me and swear." Her hands began to tremble. "Victor, I love you." "That's not what I asked." "I cook for you. I care for you. I manage your medications." "That's not what I asked," he repeated, voice rising. The girl stepped back slightly, eyes wide but unblinking. "Say it," Victor said. Elena's composure cracked. "I never meant to hurt you." The words fell like a hammer. Victor's breath left his lungs. "What did you do?" he whispered. Elena's shoulders sagged. "It was small. Tiny amounts. You were pulling away from me. You work late. You travel. There are younger women around you all the time. I saw how they look at you. So you poisoned me?" His voice broke. "I weakened you," she cried. "Just enough so you'd need me. Just enough so you'd stay home." Victor staggered back, as if struck. "You made me believe I was dying." "I didn't want you dead," she sobbed. "I just wanted you dependent. I was afraid you'd leave." The girl's eyes glistened, but she remained silent. Victor's mind replayed every dinner, every spoonful of soup, every kiss on his forehead. "You watched me struggle to stand," he said hoarsely. "I was protecting us." "No," he said coldly. "You were protecting your fear." Elena reached for him. "Please, I can fix this. I'll stop. You'll stop." Victor's voice thundered. "You've been doing this for months. I love you. Love doesn't poison." The girl stepped forward slightly. "It starts small," she whispered. "Then it gets worse." Victor looked at her, then back at Elena. "How long?" he demanded. Elena covered her face. 6 months. 6 months of trembling hands. 6 months of blurred vision. 6 months of believing his body was betraying him. "You made me doubt myself," he said quietly. Elena dropped to her knees. "I was scared. You should have trusted me." "I didn't trust anyone," she cried. Victor pulled his phone from his pocket, hands shaking for a different reason now. "Who are you calling?" Elena asked, panic flooding her face. "The police." Her sobs grew louder. "Victor, please. Think of our son." "I am." The girl stepped back as sirens echoed faintly in the distance. Elena looked up at Victor one last time. "You'll regret this." He stared down at her, eyes hollow. "I already regret loving you blindly." When the officers arrived, Elena did not resist. She simply wept as they led her away. Victor stood frozen until the sirens faded. Then his legs gave out. The girl rushed forward, steadying him despite her small frame. "You need a doctor," she said firmly. He looked at her, truly seeing her now. "What's your name?" "Lena." "Why help me?" She swallowed. "Because no one helped my mother." Victor closed his eyes, overwhelmed by a rush of shame and gratitude. He draped his coat over her shoulders. "You saved my life," he whispered. And for the first time in months, his trembling felt different. Not weakness, but release. If you watched to this point, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Victor woke in a hospital room with sunlight spilling across white sheets and the steady rhythm of a heart monitor echoing softly beside him. For a moment, he felt weightless, suspended between disbelief and clarity. Then the memories returned. The park, the confession, Elena's trembling voice admitting everything. A doctor stood near the foot of his bed, flipping through a chart. "Mr. Hale, the toxicology report confirms traces of arsenic compounds in your system. Low, repeated doses. It's consistent with what you described." Victor closed his eyes slowly. "So, I wasn't losing my mind." "No," the doctor said gently. "You were being poisoned." The word felt different now. "Clinical. Confirmed. Real. How long before I'm fully recovered?" "With treatment, you should regain full strength. But you're fortunate you came in when you did. Continued exposure would have led to organ damage." Victor swallowed hard. "Someone made sure I came in." He pictured Lena sitting in a hard plastic chair outside the room the night before, her small frame wrapped in his oversized coat. She had refused to leave. When the doctor stepped out, Victor pushed himself upright despite the lingering weakness. Lena immediately appeared in the doorway. "You're awake," she said, relief flooding her voice. "Come here," he said softly. She approached cautiously. "They confirmed it," he told her. "You were right." Lena didn't smile. She simply nodded, as if justice were a quiet thing. "I'm sorry," Victor added. "For what?" "For not believing you at first." She looked down at her worn shoes. "Most people don't believe girls like me." Victor felt a sharp sting in his chest. "That changes now." She hesitated. "What happens to her?" Victor stared at the wall. "She'll face the law. And you?" Lena asked carefully. "I'll face the truth." Silence settled between them. "You can't go back to the streets," he said suddenly. Lena's shoulders stiffened. "I'm used to it. That doesn't mean you deserve it. I don't want charity." "It's not charity," he replied firmly. It's gratitude. She studied his face, searching for pity. She found none. Why help me? She asked again. Because you risked everything to warn a stranger, Victor said. Because you told the truth when it would have been easier to stay silent. And because I don't want you thinking the world only takes. Her eyes shimmered. Days later, Victor returned to the mansion. The house felt hollow. The long dining table stood polished and untouched. The chair where Elena once sat looked like it belonged to someone he had imagined rather than loved. He walked slowly into the kitchen. The silver pot still hung above the stove. The spice rack stood neatly arranged. Everything looked the same, but it wasn't. He opened a drawer carefully. Inside, tucked behind neatly folded napkins, he found small, empty silver packets. His hand trembled again, but not from poison. He closed the drawer and exhaled. "Sir," one of the house staff asked nervously from the doorway. "Yes." "Is everything all right?" Victor looked around at the staff, people who had worked for him for years. "No," he said honestly, "but it will be." He called a meeting that evening. "I trusted blindly," he told them. "That ends now. In this house, there will be transparency. No secrets, no silent suffering." The staff exchanged uncertain glances. "If you ever see something wrong," Victor continued, "you speak, no matter who it involves." Later that night, he visited Lena at a temporary shelter he had arranged. She sat at a table with a book in front of her, brow furrowed in concentration. "What are you reading?" he asked. She looked up. "I don't know all the words yet." "You will." "I haven't been to school in 2 years," she admitted quietly. "That changes now," he said. She searched his expression again. "You're serious." "I am." She hesitated. "What if I don't fit in?" "You saved a millionaire from being poisoned," he replied gently. "You'll fit in anywhere." For the first time, a small smile broke through her guarded expression. Weeks passed. Victor's strength returned gradually. The trembling faded. The fog lifted. Each clear morning felt like a gift he almost lost. But clarity brought reflection. One afternoon, he sat alone in his study, staring at a photograph of him and Elena taken years earlier. "You were afraid," he murmured to the empty room. "But you chose control instead of trust." He didn't feel rage anymore. He felt grief. He had mistaken dependency for devotion. He had allowed himself to be managed, scheduled, monitored in the name of love. He would never ignore unease again. When the court date arrived, Victor stood composed as Elena was led into the room. She looked smaller now. Not elegant, not powerful, just human. She met his eyes briefly. "I never wanted to kill you," she whispered as she passed. "You already killed what we had," he replied quietly. There was no hatred in his tone, only finality. After the hearing, reporters gathered outside. "Mr. Hale, how do you feel about the betrayal?" Victor paused. "I feel grateful," he said. "Grateful?" a reporter echoed. "That someone brave enough told the truth before it was too late." That evening, he returned to the shelter with official documents in hand. "What's that?" Lena asked. "School enrollment papers," he said. "And guardianship forms, if you'll have me." Her breath caught. "You want to be my guardian?" "I want to be someone you can rely on," he corrected softly. "Not someone you fear." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I don't want your money," she whispered. "Good," he said with a faint smile. "I'm offering something better." "What?" "Stability, honesty, choice." She stepped forward and hugged him tightly. Victor froze for a second, then slowly wrapped his arms around her small frame. In that embrace, he felt something no boardroom victory had ever given him. Purpose. Months later, the mansion no longer felt empty. Lena's laughter echoed through the halls. Books lined the once-unused corners of the living room. The dining table held conversation instead of silence. One evening, as they sat together over dinner prepared openly by staff in full view, Lena looked up at him. "Are you still afraid?" she asked. "Of what?" "Being poisoned again." Victor considered the question. "No," he said calmly. "Because now I pay attention." She nodded thoughtfully. "And because now," he added, "I understand that love without honesty isn't love at all." Lena smiled faintly. "My mother used to say something like that." Victor reached for his glass of water and lifted it steadily. No tremor, no fear. "To truth," he said. Lena raised her glass of juice. To truth, she echoed. And for the first time in a long time, Victor Hale felt truly alive. Not because of his wealth, not because of power, but because he had chosen to see clearly. He had not been blind. He had simply trusted the wrong person. And a brave girl had opened his eyes before it was too late.